You know, some experiences, they just stick with you. They get under your skin, burrow into your brain, and they change you forever. What I'm about to tell you, it's one of those experiences. I went into it thinking it was just a bit of fun, a little adventure. I honestly had no idea the kind of darkness I was inviting into my life, and I swear every single detail I'm about to share is true. Every chill, every sound, every moment of pure, unadulterated terror. So listen close. And hey, if you find yourself getting as spooked as I was, please hit that like button and subscribe. It really helps me share more stories like this. But be warned, this one still gives me nightmares. 2 years ago, I was really into urban exploring. You know, getting into abandoned places, capturing the decay, the history. It wasn't about breaking in or anything illegal. It was more about documenting these forgotten spaces. I'd always been fascinated by old asylums, the stories of what went on inside those walls. And the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum in West Virginia, it's legendary. Not just for its history, but for, well, its reputation. They say it's one of the most haunted places in America. And, being the curious idiot I was, I decided I had to see it for myself. They offered these overnight paranormal investigations. 12 hours inside the asylum from like 9 p.m. to 9 a.m. You get a guide for the first few hours. Then you're pretty much on your own to explore the areas they allow. I figured worst case scenario, I get some cool photos, maybe hear a few creaks. Best case, maybe a little bump in the night, something to tell my friends about. I certainly wasn't expecting what actually happened. I went in with a group of about 8 other people, all of us equally excited, equally naive, I guess. The tour started off pretty standard. Our guide, a really knowledgeable guy named Mark, told us about the asylum's brutal history, overcrowding, the inhumane treatments, lobotomies, electroshock therapy, the isolation. You could feel the weight of it all in the air. A heavy, suffocating silence that seemed to absorb all sound. We were in the women's ward first, and you could just feel the sadness. I mean, not like a ghost, just the history. Then things started to get weird. It wasn't anything dramatic at first, just subtle. We were in one of the day rooms, a big empty space with cracked paint peeling off the walls. And I swear, I heard a whisper. Just a soft, almost imperceptible, "Hey." I looked around, thinking it was one of the other people in our group, but everyone was looking at Mark, listening to his story. I just brushed it off. My mind playing tricks, you know? A little later, as we were walking down a long, dark corridor, I felt this cold spot. Not like a draft, but like a pocket of ice in the air, right next to my ear. And then I smelled it. This faint, sickly, sweet smell, like old flowers mixed with something metallic. It only lasted a second and then it was gone. Mark had stopped talking and the entire group was silent, everyone looking around. You could feel this unspoken tension. Someone mumbled, "Did anyone else feel that?" And a few people nodded, looking pretty unsettled. That's when I started to think, okay, maybe there's more to this place than just old bricks and mortar. As the hours passed and the night deepened, the unsettling incidents became more frequent, and honestly more personal. We were exploring the more isolated sections, the areas where the most violent or disturbed patients were kept. The guide had left us by this point. It was just our group, split into smaller teams. I was with 3 other people, Sarah, a quiet woman who seemed to have a sixth sense for these things, and 2 guys, Mike and Ben, who were trying to act tough, but you could see the fear in their eyes. We decided to check out the basement, specifically the area near the old incinerator, or the furnace as the staff used to call it. It was where they disposed of medical waste and, allegedly, the bodies of patients who died and had no family to claim them. The air down there was thick, heavy, like breathing dust and forgotten screams. The temperature dropped significantly the further we went. We had our flashlights, but they barely cut through the oppressive gloom. The silence was absolute, broken only by our own breathing, which seemed ridiculously loud. Then we heard it. Faint at first, a kind of whimpering sound. It sounded distant, like it was coming from deep within the walls. Sarah gasped, clutching my arm. "Did you hear that?" she whispered, her voice trembling. Mike and Ben were frozen, their flashlights darting around wildly. The whimpering grew, slowly, steadily turning into a low moan. It was undeniably human, filled with a raw, guttural agony that made the hairs on my arms stand straight up. It wasn't like a recording or someone playing a trick. It was organic, and it felt like it was coming from everywhere and nowhere all at once. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it would burst out of my chest. I couldn't believe it. This was real. Suddenly, a distinct high-pitched wail echoed through the darkness. It was a woman's scream, full of despair and terror, and it cut through me like a knife. It was so close, so vivid. It felt like she was right there in the room with us, her voice vibrating in my bones. Mike dropped his flashlight, and it clattered to the concrete floor, plunging us into even deeper shadow. That scream, it unlocked something. The sounds intensified, multiplying. We heard scratching from the walls, frantic, desperate clawing sounds. Footsteps dragged across the floor above us. Heavy, shuffling steps that sounded like someone being dragged against their will. And the moans, they weren't just moans anymore. They were cries. Cries for help, desperate, tormented pleas that seemed to emanate directly from the furnace itself. "Let me out. Please, it burns." I gripped Sarah's hand so tightly I thought I'd crush it. We were all huddled together, our flashlights now just shaking beams of light. Then the furnace door, this huge rusted metal slab, began to creak open, slowly, agonizingly slowly, with a terrible, groaning sound that echoed the cries we were hearing. We could see inside, just a black void, but the air around it shimmered almost like heat haze, even though it was freezing cold down there. And from that darkness, from that terrible echoing furnace, came a guttural, inhuman shriek. It wasn't a human scream anymore. It was pure, distilled rage and suffering. It vibrated through the floor, through my chest, through my very soul, and then a shadow, not a distinct figure but a presence, seemed to lurch forward from the opening, reaching. It was massive, shapeless, and the cold that washed over us was like nothing I'd ever experienced. It was the cold of death, of despair, of unspeakable agony. We didn't scream. We couldn't, we just turned and ran. We stumbled over each other, blindly fumbling our way back up the stairs. The chilling screams and the terrifying scrape of something, following us, echoing behind us the entire way. I remember tripping, falling, but adrenaline coursed through me, and I scrambled back up, fueled by pure, desperate terror. We didn't stop running until we burst through the main doors, out into the pre-dawn light, gasping, shaking, tears streaming down our faces. We got out of there, obviously. We didn't say much to the staff. What were we going to say? Yeah, we were chased by a tormented shadow from the furnace. They probably hear it all the time. But it wasn't a story for us. It was real. For weeks, honestly, for months after that night, I couldn't sleep without the lights on. Every creak in my own house made me jump. Every shadow seemed to hold something sinister. I heard whispers when no one was around, and that sickly sweet metallic smell. It would just appear out of nowhere, especially when I was alone. I tried to research the asylum more, hoping to find some logical explanation, some forgotten pipe or ventilation system that could have mimicked those sounds. But I found nothing. Only more stories, more accounts of people hearing cries from the basement, feeling that oppressive cold. I stopped urban exploring. I haven't stepped foot in an abandoned building since. The thrill is gone, replaced by a deep-seated dread. That night at the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum didn't just give me a ghost story. It gave me a permanent scar on my psyche. It made me believe in things I never thought possible. And sometimes late at night, when the house is quiet and the world is asleep, I still hear them. Faint, distant, but undeniably there. The cries, the screams from the furnace. And I wonder, are they still trapped there, echoing in those dark halls? Or did something follow me home? So that's my story. My brush with the truly unexplained. I hope it, gave you a little shiver. What do you think really happened that night? Let me know in the comments. And if you're brave enough, I'll be back tomorrow at 7 p.m. with another chilling true story. Don't miss it.